Ladies and gentlemen, this time we're going to begin the memorial service portion. Mr. Maurice Jacob Woll. There was a private interment previously held this morning at Waldheim Cemetery. We welcome those of you who are online. Family appreciates your presence here. Rabbi Suzanne Griffel will be officiating the religious portion. We are humbled and honored to have representation from the United States Armed Forces here for the flag presentation and taps.
On behalf of the President of the United States Army, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved ones' honorable and faithful service.
We want to thank the representatives from the United States Army for the flag presentation and taps. At this time, we're going to have a musical selection, so please sit back and think of Maurice as you hear this beautiful song. At this time, we're going to begin the religious portion of the service of Maurice Jacob Woll. Rabbi Suzanne Griffel will be officiating.
That was such a beautiful choice of a song. It's comforting to think of Maury being somewhere over the rainbow. And I know that some close friends of Maury and Aviva's, the husbands and two of the other couples in your friend group have died recently, and I've heard several people talking about them having a good time over there behind the rainbow. So let's hope that's where they are. Ecclesiastes wrote, "The eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearn for yet another respite from the final summons, and how we yearn to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, yet another precious moment together. God, be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this moment. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until the time of healing. We pray that that time of healing will come soon." And I'd like to invite you to join me in reciting Psalm 23, which has been a source of comfort for Jews and many other people for thousands of years. And you will find it on the upper half of the inside cover of your folder. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I think that's the psalmist's way of talking about somewhere over the rainbow. And now we move to the major portion of this part of the funeral service, which is Hesped, eulogizing Maurice, sharing some stories, memories, and some of his wonderful qualities so that we can really celebrate his life. So first, I would like to call upon Lisa, Debbie, and Lauren. Lisa and Lauren. Debbie will stay with Aviva. I want to sit. This is going to be
Good afternoon. I thought I would read something that I wrote when I was at the University of Illinois to start when they had Father's Weekend, and I nominated my father to be King Dad. I sent this to him. I was looking through my email last week or right after he died, and I sent this to him. I took a picture of it, and he goes, "Did I win?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so, Dad, but I really did try." So this said, this is the nomination statement. There is a man whose father died when he was 2. This man grew up in boarding schools, rarely seeing his mother, and without a true place to call home. This man got married and had 4 daughters. This is the man who gathered up 20 frostbitten kindergartners from the corner when the bus never came in the dead of winter. This is the man who chaperoned 4 Brownie and Girl Scout overnighters and taught his daughter's friends how to fish. This is the man who spent two evenings using checkers to teach his 2nd grade daughter, that was me, addition and subtraction. This is the man who never minded having his toes stepped on when his daughters wanted to try out the steps they learned in 8th grade ballroom dance class. This is the man who, though serving on the school and temple board, never missed any event his daughters were part of. This is the man who took pictures of his 18-year-old daughter in the middle of McDonald's, it was a bit embarrassing actually, on the way down to Champaign to document the fact that his baby, at least the first one, was all grown up. This is the man who is my father. The memories I've recounted here all show why I feel my dad should be King Dad. He gives to his children the most precious things a father can give, his time and interest. He deserves to wear a crown. I wrote that essay more than 30 years ago. The qualities of my dad remain true across the decades since. The miracle of his growing up largely fatherless, and yet somehow knowing how to be a truly great one once he had the chance. Knowing how to be a good husband and a truly dedicated son and son-in-law to Rose, Sylvia, and Norman. A man who probably didn't think of himself as a feminist in his early years, but who raised his daughters without gendered expectations. The downside of this, of course, was that we had to do things like cut the lawn. The upside was that being a girl did not come with any limits or lack of possibilities. I always felt like he was my biggest fan, and he was present in ways big and small throughout my life. I am pretty sure he was the only dad involved as a room father at Middleton Elementary School and the rare dad at Brownie and Girl Scout outings. In the last few years, when my organization held its conference in Chicago, he would be there as my biggest booster. He shared his talents and passions with us. He was an avid photographer and made one out of me. Patiently doing things like a bike ride down downtown Chicago to illustrate the rule of thirds. All you photographers will know what I mean. And in my adult years, flying to Washington, D.C. to join me in attending a day-long photo class together. Tennis, reading, dancing, and theater were other passions that we shared. He was always up for an adventure. At my 40th birthday party, which I held in Santa Fe, New Mexico, we went on a hike that my dad and mom insisted was not too rigorous for them. Near the end of the really kind of rigorous hike, he ended up stepping on a rock that slipped and tumbling several feet down a hill. Fortunately, his camera was unscathed, which was his primary worry, but he had lots of rocks and pebbles embedded in his legs. Once they were cleaned up by a doctor, he was told to keep it dry, which totally explains why he and my mom ended up going on a whitewater rafting trip with the group the next day. I was reflecting last night that I rarely saw my father in a bad mood or in a period of low spirits. The last few years challenged my father's generally optimistic disposition as he battled his physical conditions and limitations. And for real, he could have some strong and at times, we could have some strong and at times epic disagreements. And some of you might know that he was a little bit stubborn. But Maury was the guy who always made you feel like you were going to be pretty okay. Dad was very involved in the Skokie Photographic Society for many years. One of the members wrote him a wonderful letter, which we found when we were cleaning out his office earlier this week, and she wrote it when he stepped off the board last year. She noted, "For over 15 years, Maury Woll has been my mentor, quietly getting me to do more and be more. He raised me up. He is my pusher. We all need one. I was lucky to have the best in town. Poet and activist Maya Angelou once said that I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. So many people have reached out since my father died. Not just his and my mom's friends and family, but friends and family of his daughters who got to know him, and so many others. They told us how he made them feel like they were special to him, that he was interested and invested in them. This is perhaps his greatest legacy, his loving, fun, and endearing personality that lifted people up and made them feel they truly mattered. My dad was such a central part of my life story, and he really mattered to me. I am so thankful to have had the chance to be along for 60 years of his 89-year ride with all of us.
Okay, if you know me, I'm not going to make it through this. And it's just easier for me to read something that my dad wrote me when I was 19. Dear Lori, as I'm sitting in our agency meeting, thoughts of you come to me, and I wanted to reduce them to writing and share with you. With your sisters out of the house, a lot of responsibilities fall on your shoulders, but so do a bit of the advantages. You've just completed your first semester of college, except for one course. Thanks, Dad. You did very well when considering first exposure to college life and all of the attendant freedom with it. I was unable to complete this letter during the meeting, so I'm continuing Saturday night before tennis. I'm pleased you like college and plan to go on, hopefully, to a 4-year institution soon. I know you will do very well. It was very nice to come home to a shoveled walks without even asking tonight. After giving your blood to make a gallon, I just want you to know that I'm very proud of you and love you very much. I'm so glad God decided that we should have a 4th child and that it was you. And I hope we can always talk and be friends. Dad, we did talk and we were friends, the best of friends. And he continued to talk and be friends with my children as well.
Thank you so much. I know it's hard, but you know that the tears just show how much you loved him. Love present tense. Continue to love him. So thank you so much. I would like to conclude this part of the service by sharing some words written by number 2 daughter Michal, who is unable to be here in person because she has COVID. Shalom, everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm sure it is feeling surreal for me to be watching this gathering from a phone in a car. For those of you who don't know, she did come to the cemetery and is on her way back to Milwaukee. Now I'm back to being Michal. But that is the only way I could participate at all in the burial of my father, Maurice, your husband, Papa, G-Pop, and friend. Gratitude, no, I'm not going to read this part. Sorry. I can only imagine, because it's about me. Back to being Michal. I can only imagine what wonderful stories that have already been shared by my siblings and apologize that I have no way to adjust my words based on theirs. So, I apologize for redundancies. At least they are likely to be lovely or funny. At least I hope so. I begin with my favorite poem for moments such as these, but possibly never more appropriate than now. The poem is called Life After Death by Laura Gilpin. These things I know, how the living go on living, and how the dead go on living with them, so that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it. And in this spring, the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. Maurice Woll was all about love. Raised by a strong but not particularly warm mother and without a father, he was seemingly determined to overcompensate as a parent. His love was deeply supportive without being indulgent, and I have long appreciated the way that he and our mom raised us. They were always willing to carpool, but not to chauffeur. They modeled that driving a few blocks out of the way to pick someone up was better than to make another parent leave their house. They were there for our concerts, plays, and games, and of course, Dad documented all of these with detailed photography. Our parents chaperoned countless retreats and bike hikes. Dad was on the board at our school district and our synagogue. You could call him at any time for advice of any sort. At home, we had our daily and weekly chores on the famous refrigerator chart. We learned that life was a combination of doing for ourselves and for each other and for the community. I often say I was raised to be a nice Jewish girl with a Protestant work ethic. Maurice was of a special breed, a father of a pack of girls. I always offer high esteem when I meet another member of this club because I know it isn't easy. But I know Dad would not have had it any other way, even when it resulted in cream rinse wars rather than wrestling matches. We all inherited things from him and Mom. Certainly, the inability to stand still when there is music with any sort of beat playing is probably our strongest shared genetic trait. No doubt, threatening, "Dad, I am going to dance on your grave," would be considered an honor rather than an insult. If dance is indicative of our shared nature, our shared experience is likely Dad's preferred method of punishment. I keep imagining myself locking myself in my room to write, "I miss you, Dad," 1,000 times. But of course, genetics being what they are, we girls also receive different traits from Maurice. I was blessed with Dad's hair, which as I approach 60 is still more pepper than salt. Dad and I enjoyed playing games and fishing, eventually realizing that mixing the two didn't work very well, after not noticing our rod disappear while we focused on backgammon at Montrose Harbor. We shared notes on archetypes and personality disorders. Maurice's hint, watch out for the amiable. He taught me to live empirically. He had a knack for teaching and saying, "Good, and maybe try it this way next time." Somehow, my spouse doesn't appreciate my own, "Have you thought about doing it this way?" Nor does he find my habit of taking everything he says literally particularly endearing, usually responding with a curt, "Thanks, Maurice." To this day, I hear my father's voice when I paint a wall. Spread it, don't scrape it, or slice bread. The knife is a saw, not a chisel. And when I am upset, he will remind me not to let the turkeys get me down. As I got older, Dad and I would take a walk any time I visited, often, along a trail in the woods near the airport, sometimes along the path at the sculpture garden near the house. Walking and talking was how we caught up, shared, and processed. As he began to age in earnest, both his mobility and hearing diminishing, we lost this tradition. But one look into his eyes made it clear that he still saw and understood and loved. If I have any regret, it is that I had my own family so late that they never experienced him in his fullness. I have no idea what happens next for you, Dad, but if there is a place you go, it had better operate with the highest ethics and impeccable customer service. Or else we know you will walk out and never return. And if anyone gives you a hard time, just remember, illegitimi non carborundum. Don't let the turkeys get you down. It's a good lesson. So I know everyone here has memories of moments that you spent with Maury, maybe being encouraged not to let the turkeys get you down, maybe sharing an amazing papa date. And I'm guessing there might have been some version of G-pop dates for the next generation, maybe not quite the same as the papa dates because he was a little older by that point, but still meaningful. And possibly being taught to drive at the Woll School of Driving. Maybe being asked on a blind date the same day. What chutzpah? But going out the next week and, oh my gosh, 62, well, it was almost 63 years after that date, after being married for 62 years, that blind date worked out pretty well, huh? And maybe you're a photographer who had the opportunity to watch Maury and get some guidance from him. And maybe you have a memory that I have no idea what it might be about. But whatever one of, because I know a lot of you have lots and lots of memories of wonderful moments with Maury, but whatever memory sticks out to you the most right now, I'd like to ask you to take just a moment and imprint that on your heart. You can close your eyes if you want to, but you don't have to. And just take a moment to think of one really outstanding memory. I hope everybody has at least one, because these are some of the ways that he is going to live on in us. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. It was so nice that maybe he had some influence in having today not be quite so chilly. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember him. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year, which we're pretty close to the beginning, and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. If you're comfortably able to do so, please rise for the memorial prayer. El male rachamim, shochen b'meromim, hamtzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, b'malot kedoshim u'tohorim, kezohar haraki amazhirim, et nishmat Moshe ben Yaakov Erezel shahalach le'olamo, Ana b'harachamim hastireu b'seter knafecha le'olamim, utzror b'tzro ha'chaim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God Most High, may the soul of our loved one, Maurice Woll, who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you. May he rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. And please remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish, which we recited at the cemetery, but we will recite once again, as now will be customary for the first week, month, and then for the children, 11 months after his death, and then on his yahrzeit. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'gala u'v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach La'alam Lamei Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Hey shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who makes peace in heaven send peace to all who mourn for Maurice Woll. May his memory be a blessing to all of the many people whose lives he touched. And as we conclude, I'd like to share with you these words of comfort that are the traditional transition to Shiva when you begin to receive condolences on Maurice's death. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch she'avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes all services. As we mentioned earlier, there was a private burial at Waldheim Cemetery. Memorials in his memory to the African Wildlife Foundation would be appreciated, or your favorite charity. For the many people that are watching online, the charitable information you could find on the Chicago Jewish Funerals website. At this time, I invite everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the family to a private room where the rabbi will perform the ancient ceremony of Kriya. There is no formal Shiva. Everything is private due to the pandemic. Please rise.